As a constitutional law attorney, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and you may have missed what is going on in Ireland with their insanely draconian hate speech law that is being proposed by the Irish Prime Minister, who wants to force it through this week based on some events last week. So even though all of us were eating turkey and having some great family time over the Thanksgiving holiday, this is why still paying attention to world events absolutely matters, and how what is going on in Ireland may eventually affect the United States, possibly even more quickly than you might anticipate. So joining me for this podcast today is going to be an Irish reporter who will give us all of the background, and then also Hermann Kelly, who is the president of the Irish Freedom Party, talking about the politics and what is lying ahead for the Irish people. So stick around, coming up right after this. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you. There was a lot of news that happened around the world, not just in the United States. I know a lot of us kind of tuned out, as we should sometimes, over the Thanksgiving holiday. But what's going on around the world, particularly in Europe, Europe is at the precipice of falling to Marxism and really just some terrible, terrible infiltration of statism and some of these ideas. So kind of a recap of what happened in Ireland. I want to welcome in our first guest, Keith Woods, who is an Irish political activist and journalist. And so, Keith, this started with a stabbing from an illegal immigrant or an immigrant. I'm not sure which, if it was legal versus illegal, into Ireland, but it was an immigrant nonetheless. So what happened with this, and where are we at in terms of this new proposed law now against hate speech in Ireland? Seems like we started there and now it rapidly escalated.
Hey, Jenna, it's good to be here. There was only one publication that actually published the nationality. They had the information from the police here, which was Grip, which is like a kind of alternative media Catholic publication. But the rest of the media was complicit in trying to hide that information from the public. Now, this man was Algerian origin. He had been in Ireland 20 years, and he came, as many do, claiming asylum, but had his asylum status rejected. He was not a real refugee. Like many people who come in this program, they're economic migrants. 70 to 80% of them are men, young men that are, seeking economic opportunity. But he was rejected. But as is often the case here, we have this bloated system of left-wing NGOs, and they advocated for him to stay here. And over the course of years of legal battle, he was eventually given citizenship. Now, it gets even worse because earlier this year, he was actually in court on a knife charge. And, I would have thought that would be reason enough to deport a migrant if they're in court for criminal damage and a knife charge. But he was found to be mentally incapable. They found that, there were circumstances about his mental health that meant he could not be prosecuted, and so he was allowed to walk. So there was justifiable anger amongst the population in Dublin. This is inner city Dublin is now about 44% Irish people. It's been just a rapid demographic transformation. And it's one of the less affluent areas, the inner city. And so the working class people there are watching their country disappear before their eyes. And anytime they've tried to express discontent about this, anytime they've tried to make their voice known on what this mass migration is doing to their communities, they've been shut down by the government and the media. They get labelled far right, they get labelled extremist. And for the last over a year, they've been protesting peacefully. There's been these protests in Dublin where families come out, mothers come out with pushchairs and proms and say that they're concerned about their children. They're concerned about this influx of unvetted male migrants and what it's going to do to the safety of their children. But again, they've been totally shut down by the government, by the media, the left-wing NGO complex. And so it really just boiled over into, the people came out and, it turned into rioting. It turned into some violent scenes. But I really have to blame the government on this, because when you don't give people a means to express valid concerns that they know are reasonable about immigration, about the effects of this on Ireland, you kind of make it an unfortunate reality that people are going to express their frustration in other ways if you won't give them a peaceful means to express it. And this gets to the hate speech laws, which are some of the most draconian in the world. I mean, I think eventually these laws will come to everywhere in the West if we don't fight back. But this is an especially bad example of it, where you can get up to 5 years in jail merely for possessing what's called hateful materials on your device. So, you have a meme on your phone or your laptop, and even if you didn't have any intent to distribute that, even if you had no intent to spread hate, you could potentially go to jail for possessing that. And government ministers in the government have said explicitly the purpose of these laws is to shut down what they call the far-right threat, which they connect to opposition to mass migration. So it all goes in tandem. The speech laws are there to silence opposition to this mass migration plantation agenda. And so, unfortunately, people express their discontent in any way they can. And then, of course, when they go out and riot, because they have no peaceful means to express their opposition to immigration, then that's used as a justification to bring even more strict hate speech laws. So it's a terrible system, but at the end of the day, the Irish people lose.
Yes, and I'm speaking with Keith Woods, who is an Irish political activist and journalist. And Keith, you're so right that this is a progression of events, and I appreciate the way that you laid this out, because it's the government who is allowing this type of immigrant population to invade the country of Ireland. They do nothing about it. The people protest their government in civil and lawful means, and then an incident like this occurs and the people get outraged, then it's blamed on the far right, and then there are draconian laws that come in to supposedly quell the violence and quell the dissent. But really, this is all about the government inciting this type of policy that is not good for the people, and then using their own bad policy in order to then push through this type of really Marxist and 1984 kind of draconian, as you called it, hate speech law, that if you even merely possess materials that could, quote unquote, incite violence or just hate against the government, now it's punishable by jail. I mean, this is completely eroding what Western civilization is all about and the fundamental rights of the people to to look at their government and to dissent. And so this is a cautionary tale, I think, that parallels what's going on in the United States. And so there was a vocal critic as well, Conor McGregor, who's one of your most famous athletes that's in Ireland, who is a vocal critic of government policy. And he's now even under investigation for, quote unquote, dissemination of online hate speech. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's an insane system. And, like you alluded to there, I mean, who defines extreme? Because every conversation about immigration here is now dominated by these buzzwords like the far right, extremism and so on. But the fact is, whenever they poll the Irish people, and this is really true across the West, I mean, whenever they poll the people are against this mass uncontrolled immigration. According to a poll earlier this year, 75% of Irish people, 3 in 4, don't think we should take any more refugees. And it's because these refugees, they're economic migrants. You can look at the history in Ireland when we used to have a real process around this. They used to find that 99% of these people were just simply male economic migrants that were looking for a better life. Look, it's understandable, but that's not what the refugee process is for. And then you look at countries like, I saw today Canada has a 70% approval rating for people claiming asylum. It's getting to the point you just have to show up in a Western country, say the word asylum, and you'll be provided with housing and benefits and job opportunities. And the Irish people see this, and we have a historic housing crisis, and they just see the discrepancy here. And then they see that no one in the media represents this point of view. They know that Irish people feel this. They have conversations about this every day amongst themselves, but it gets no expression in the media. It gets shut down. It gets censored on social media. And now we're going to have laws to silence this kind of perspective. So again, when you declare the majority of the population far-right extremists and you say that their perspective is illegitimate, they can't express it in any peaceful, legitimate means, I'm sorry, but you are creating the conditions that's going to cause conflict and violence, which no one wants to see. But this rests with Western governments that are silencing legitimate concerns.
Yes, and that's absolutely correct. And I'm talking with Keith Woods, who is an Irish political activist and journalist. And your Irish Prime Minister is now demanding that this hate speech law, which Ireland is preparing to pass, and I think is arguably the most radical legislation of its kind that we've seen across the West in terms of Europe and the United States and Canada. And he is calling for this hate speech law to be passed immediately so that the government can arrest Irish individuals who speak out. And he said, quote, "Our incitement to a hateful legislation is not up to date, and we need it through in a matter of a week." So do you actually think that that Ireland is going to pass this, or what is the perspective there? I mean, he's calling for this to be passed in the matter of a week.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. They've been working on this for a number of years. And as usual, all of the typical NGOs and globalist organizations were lobbying for this. One of them was the Irish Network Against Racism, which is part of this group called the European Network Against Racism, which is actually primarily funded by George Soros. So, all the usual types have been working very hard to get Ireland up to date with the rest of, the liberal West. But this has gone through our first House of Parliament. It means, it's effectively passed by maybe some amendments. But yeah, we're going to have this extreme hate speech legislation. We see the effects of this in the UK. They have similar laws. As you say, this is even worse. But I mean, we saw last year a woman was arrested outside an abortion clinic because she was silently praying in the UK. This is the kind of draconian stuff people deal with every day in the UK. People get police showing up at their door, arresting them for tweets, telling them they have to check their thinking. So, it's just, it's a continual process in the West where we go further and further into this, as you said, 1984 dystopian version of things. But this is how necessary it's getting now to silence dissent, because you're seeing, you saw the riots in Dublin. There's been similar protests in France recently about an attack that happened on that targeted white children there. The population are slowly waking up to this. I think social media is playing a big role in it. And you even have politicians in Ireland now talking about they need to do something to silence Twitter X, because Elon Musk was getting involved in this, rightly pointing out that the Irish Taoiseach hates Irish people, just based on his own words. Our own leader talks about our institutions being too white. He says we need more brown and black faces in the civil service. Well, I'm sorry, but this is Ireland, and the institution should be populated by Irish people. And suddenly we're getting this woke idea that we need to fill our institutions up with non-Irish, non-white people. I mean, this is a form of ethnic cleansing on the institutional level, and people have every right to oppose it. And it's going to take extreme censorship. As you mentioned, people like Conor McGregor now, who have huge audiences and huge respect in Ireland, it's getting to the point where people like this are even speaking out, and he's raising very legitimate concerns, and now they're talking about shutting all of these people down.
Well, we will be praying for Ireland, and this is why America needs to look at what's going on in the West across the globe, not just be so myopically focused on the wokeism and Marxism that's going on in the United States. This is a global phenomenon, and it is the radical left that is trying to tear down Western civilization. Europe is on the precipice of falling. The United States is on the precipice of falling. And for those of us listening, we need to be praying every day that the Lord would prevail and that our institutions and freedom and liberty would prevail. We'll be right back with more. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you. All right, so joining me now to talk more about this situation going on in Ireland, and especially this proposed hate speech law, is Irish Freedom Party President Hermann Kelly, who, Herman, this just to me seems like the most extreme hate law that is being proposed across Western countries. I mean, this cannot prevail. Is it going to possibly? I mean, with the prime minister saying that he wants to pass it within the week?
It is draconian in the extreme. As you're probably correct, it probably is the most draconian, most dangerous, most ill thought out and unnecessary anti-free speech legislation in the Western world at the minute. The hubris of this government, it's because there's like a unity party in Ireland, the political class, the media class, and the huge NGO. Would you believe me that the Quango, or supposedly non-government organisation sector in Ireland, takes up 8% of the national budget? 8% of it takes 6 billion euro every year to fund. It's a slush fund for these left-wing unemployables. And the political class, the media class, like they marry each other, they go with each other's sister. Their views are on so many issues are completely uniform. So be it on the European Union, on control of immigration, on, I don't know, transsexual toilets, all these, be it in social issues or even their views on fundamental human rights. They're so similar. And so it wouldn't surprise me. They will have a majority in the Dáil if this is pressed through. They're using what happened in Ireland on Thursday as a pretext to bring in the most dangerous anti-free speech legislation in the whole Western world. It's completely unnecessary because Ireland already has laws to do with libel, to do with incitement to violence, all these things. But what they're proposing has to do with control of thought. At the moment, all citizens are equal before the law. This legislation by the Irish government, which actually goes back to the European Union, and it says so in Section 2 of the legislation itself, that it introduces inequality of citizens before the law because certain identity groups chosen by the government have preferential treatment and greater powers over that of ordinary citizens. So it introduces inequality. The whole idea of thought crime, even if you don't spread it to someone else, even if you like memes, have you done you have a thought crime, police will be breaking into your house. They also have a right to demand that you must give them your mobile phone and computers. You must give them your password. And if you refuse to do so, you have a long time in jail. So it is completely unnecessary. It introduces inequality of citizens before the law. And it's unnecessary because there's legislation to deal with threats of violence, etc. already.
Well, and this is why, Hermann Kelly, the constitutional protections that we enjoy in America that are being severely diminished, and they're basically being eradicated through our court system that is trying to just opinion them away and say that they don't apply in favor of some of this type of woke legislation. Those are still things, though, that we can fight for here in America. But the political environment and the lack of, for example, our Fourth Amendment says that the government cannot have an unreasonable search and seizure. We don't have to give our cell phones or our passwords to the government and some of those things. And so what is the political recourse in Ireland when you don't have some of those same protections similarly in a Bill of Rights?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was actually being prosecuted by the state for holding a rally against the lockdown in November 2020. I was charged with two charges. Basically, during COVID, they had the lockdown, and I was opposed to that because they stopped you traveling, seeing your family, going to work, etc. Why their fundamental rights. But I found out in a very fine reading of the Constitution that actually in Ireland, free speech can be constricted for one, public morality, and two, public order. Quite incredibly. So there's no fundamental and strict right to free speech. They can be constrained by the state. So it is actually quite dangerous. And there's very little recourse because once the state introduces legislation, they say, we have public order constraints in the Constitution. It's under our legislation, so tough. It's very, very dangerous. Now, good for us, actually, is that there's a huge interest in this, what is going on in Ireland, one, through what is happening with unconstrained immigration of unvetted males into our country. There's been just recently an attempted murder. There was a very important murder case by a foreigner there last 2 weeks ago. And now, so they're using these civil unrest in Ireland about attempted murder and murders in Ireland by non-nationals this is now the pretext to introduce anti-free speech legislation to suppress the rights of Irish people. It is very dangerous. And you know what? It may also have consequences for those across Europe and maybe even in America, because Ireland is the headquarter headquarters for many of the big tech firms, be it Twitter, Facebook, Google, whatever. They're headquartered in Ireland. Their servers, certainly for Europe, are in Ireland. And so Irish law will apply to all what goes on in the servers that are kept in Ireland. So this will apply to the whole of Europe.
And this is where Ireland has been a cautionary tale for America in several respects. And you and I have talked about this before on this show, related to some of those politics and how it is going to spread across Europe and still impact and affect America as well. So what is the solution? And is the Irish Freedom Party trying to contact Parliament and, trying to sound the alarm bells? I mean, what can be done? And
we have had pro-free speech rallies in Ireland since, I think it was November 2019 when this legislation was first proposed. We've had rallies against it. I think the last one we had, I think, was in the summer. We had about 1,200 people at it, which for Ireland is a big one. And we also asked as many people as possible to contact their TD and their senator and make their voice heard, to make sure that it's very clear to them that they will lose votes if they pass this legislation. And to be fair to them, that had a big effect. And the proposal for the legislation was more or less withdrawn, and they were saying it mightn't come in this term of Parliament. But now, with the civil unrest that has erupted in Ireland there during the week because of attempted murder, that this is now the pretext used by the government to impose it. So it's very dangerous. So we will be redoubling our efforts again to ask people to contact their MP or their representatives, their elected representatives, to make clear to them that this is very dangerous legislation and it should not be implemented by the government. We are running. I have tried to make clear, look, that any type of violence is always counterproductive. I'm completely opposed to political violence. And I make clear to people that only two things that politicians understand is when you take, or what they care about, is when you take votes off them or you take money off them. So we, as a party, the Irish Freedom Party, are standing in the European election. There's 3 constituencies, we have 3 candidates, and you know what, certainly in at least 2 of those constituencies, we have a very good chance. So it is the rebirth of what can be. We are a socially conservative, economically liberal, pro-free speech. We're a nationalist, Eurosceptic party, and the future of Ireland is that's the direction of travel that Ireland will have, because the incompetence and corruption of the Irish government is just out of control. There's no breaks. There's no media in Ireland which are holding the powerful to account. The political class have such similar views across the spectrum of what they call left and right. Is that there's a real authoritarian streak has developed in Ireland, and I'm very sorry to say it, but it's going to be a very rough number of decades ahead. But politically, the direction of travel for the country, especially for young people, is will be nationalist and Eurosceptic.
Wow. Well, I hope that you prevail in foreclosing this legislation before it passes. But is there any hope in your judiciary that if it does, they would at least see that this is completely curtailing and infringing upon the rights of the people? Practically, or I'll tell you, the problem is that in Ireland we have the political appointment of judges. Many of these judges are former members of either political party in government, Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. Well, the experience of Irish people during the lockdown was that their rights were not justiciable, that people were not allowed into court to even appeal the legislation, to even about closing down churches. A friend of mine, Declan Ganley, who's very active in America, he tried to take a court case and it was refused. And then when the lockdown was over, he said, "Oh yeah, you can come in now." And then he said, "Oh, but it's mute now, so that legislation has passed." So I don't have any great faith in the
politically compromised judiciary that we have in Ireland. So I think the only thing that will really work is that people getting together, voting for the Irish Freedom Party, a libertarian, Eurosceptic and nationalist party, who will take on the establishment. And we're very different. The mainstream media hate us. Like over the last week, I've been all over the British media and started now in the American media. I've taken a number of requests, but no requests from the Irish media whatsoever. So they just want to silence any contrary views. They don't have confidence in their own arguments, so they will just try to silence people with whom they disagree.
Well, isn't that fascinating that other countries are engaged in this and interested in? Thankfully, America still is in some of the American media, but that Ireland just wants to ignore this. And it just shows that the press is the fourth estate of the government and whatever the establishment is in that particular country. So but Hermann Kelly, I wish you well. And I hope that for everyone in America listening, we look at this and we see why elections matter, why justices and the judiciary matters, why all of the government matters, that we can protect and preserve the rights of the people, because but for some of these other protections, we will go the way of Ireland. And I hope that Ireland and the Irish Freedom Party can genuinely bring back Ireland from this precipice of genuinely falling. I mean, it seems like the West is falling to these cultural Marxists that just want to control everything, and they want to perpetuate this type of thought crime, and they want to prosecute it. And this is not what Western civilization is about. So I applaud you, Hermann Kelly, for fighting for your country. And I wish you success in that, and look forward to speaking with you again as we hope that this legislation will be defeated. So thank you for your work. And how can people contact you and help with the Irish Freedom Party?
The website is on www.irishfreedom.ie. And on Twitter, for instance, it's irexitfreedom at irexit, IREXIT freedom. That's the Twitter handle. And I would like to, on behalf of Irish people, show our appreciation to the American, freedom-loving American people for their interest in what is going on in Ireland. And even the tweet about it, that Irish politicians know that there's many people in the international arena who are very worried about what is going on in Ireland, and even to embarrass the Prime Minister and the government of Ireland, because what they're bringing in is truly dangerous. And it really does show the importance of separation of powers, as we just talked about, the judiciary and also the independence of the press. And Ireland, the national broadcaster, just got a huge financial bailout from the government. National newspapers have been given a VAT reduction from 9% to 0. Basically, they're now subsidised by the state. And during the lockdown, all the regional radio stations got a huge subsidy from the state. So basically, all the regional media, the print media, and even the national broadcast media are basically brought over and pretty much subsidised by the taxpayer. Very dangerous.
Wow. Well, we will be supporting you and all of the Americans that are freedom loving, and see that this is a much bigger fight than just one political party or one faction here in America. I mean, this is what's going on in the whole world. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for your time, Hermann Kelly, and wish you the best. And hopefully Ireland will remain free. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jenna.
My friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help you get the best night's sleep of your life. He didn't stop at the pillow. Mike also created the Giza Dream bed sheets. I have them. I love them. These sheets look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep, which is crucial for our overall health. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's latest deal is the sale of the year. For a limited time, you will receive 50% off the Giza Dream Sheets marketing prices, down as low as $29.98, depending on the size. So go to mypillow.com and click on the radio podcast square and use promo code Jenna, Jenna. There, you'll find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow 2.0 mattress topper, MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and so much more. I have all of this. I love it. Everything from MyPillow and also mystore.com. You can use promo code Jenna. So go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Jenna, and also mystore.com. And remember, use the promo code Jenna.